Bit of a change of scenery today to chat about the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. So I thought just this morning in a run here in Faro, I passed the 80-mile mark in these, the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. I do a bit of a review on them, what I found them useful for so far and what I'm going to use them for going forward. So yeah, you can't miss these shoes, to be fair, in this kind of orangey, kind of reddy colour. There's a couple of different designs for the upper you can get. It's not just this colour, but I think this is one of the nicer ones they do. So this shoe then, I'll make it short. I'll come to the outsole and upper shortly. But the star of the show really is the midsole of this shoe. And this year, Brooks put in the top layer here, the kind of peachy, orangey kind of colour, is the new DNA Gold, as they call it, foam, which is their PIBA-based very bouncy race foam. They put in the race shoes, the Hyperion Elite shoe. So they put that here right underneath the foot, so you get that real squash and real sort of energy return, and sort of more durable, kind of more stable nitrogen infused foam you find just under here, the EVA blend. And this setup, it's been used quite a lot. It's used, dare I say, in the Super Blast, albeit without the nylon plate that is in this shoe. It's used in a number of the sort of top performing shoes to give that kind of softness underfoot, but without sacrificing too much stability in the shoe and making it, dare I say, a super trainer, as they seem to be called these days. Yeah, I've used this for every long run in 2026 so far, and now it's March. I can safely say it's one of my favourite shoes I've used in a long time, especially for that purpose. Again, the amount of foam you hear, I think the stack is about 45, 46 in the heel, about 38 in the front. I believe it's an 8mm drop, but I'll put it on the screen just here if I'm wrong, and it might well be. This is somewhat of a spontaneous review while we have some good weather. But yeah, my main takeaway from this is that it leaves my legs feeling pretty fresh the next day, to the point where I'm sort of wondering at times, did I do a long run yesterday? That's how comfortable and protective these shoes really are. And I mentioned stability before. Again, it's a relatively wide shoe across the bottom here, relatively stable. The only thing I would say is there's a reasonable cutout here. The medial side, you could sort of maybe collapse into. This where you see the plate exposed just here. Just a nylon plate. Again, I think it's more for stability, although it is called the speed vault plate. Not sure if it helps much with speed, but that's another thing I'll touch on in the long runs. When I've been wanting to sort of pick up the pace, do a few maybe marathon pace intervals or faster, these shoes really can't do that. I think over the long term, it'll tire you out a little bit. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't actually feel it now I'm holding it, but it is one of the heavier sort of max stack shoes today, potentially because it's lower EVA based foam. And I put the exact weight of my size up here, but I like that. I think that's a good thing. It's protective in the long runs and it's not too light. If you get me, in my theory, I don't know if the logic holds with everyone, is that you have these on your long runs. You do your long runs in these, even the ones with a bit of marathon pace, and you train with them all the way up. You're used to these. You're used to carrying these. Excuse the birds. And then on race day, you put on a pair of race shoes, be it the Brooks Hyperion Elite, the Pumas, the Nike Alpha Fly, the Asics Metaspeeds, which are under 200 grams now. So you're carrying on each foot at least 100 grams less on race day. I think even mentally, that's a massive boost. You're used to carrying these along for 2, 3, 3.5 hours in your long runs, and all of a sudden you've a lot less on your feet to carry. I think on race day, that's just that extra little boost that could be nice. I'm not sure I've seen that mentioned in a review of shoes like this, but I just thought I'd throw it in there because in my head, it kind of makes me feel better. But I think for training, these are going to last a long time. And I say that as well, coming onto the outsole, there's barely any wear on that at all. And I've used that in the winter here, well, not here, but in Northern Ireland, where it's rained pretty much for 2 months, nearly every day. It's been horrible weather. There's hardly any wear at all on that outsole. There's pretty good rubber coverage all the way round. I've not noticed any problem with grip. The only thing I have noticed is if you're turning 90-degree corners quite often, or a lot of twists and turns, because of the kind of height of the shoe, it's a little bit unstable. Not anything to do with the rubber slipping or anything, but just if you're sort of dodgy ankles, be careful. Finally then, coming to the upper of the shoe, apart from looking good, it's incredibly breathable. You see here the little holes that are on the shoe. You can sort of see right through them, so whatever socks you wear will be visible through that. So your foot breathes well, holds you in pretty well. One of the things you do want in the long run is comfort. So it keeps your foot cool, And at the heel here, it's got a heel tab, which is always handy to help pull on because the upper is kind of a booty construction. It's all one piece essentially. The tongue is integrated and obviously naturally gusseted to the rest of the shoe. Around the heel, there's really good padding around here when you slip your heel in. And it's strange because the upper nearly feels a little bit like a racy upper, but with some comfort elements added to it. And because the way the sort of tongue integrates to the rest of the shoe, it's not separate, it gives you a really good lockdown. And the laces are good laces, they're good. I mean, they work well. The tongue's padded enough that it doesn't bite on the top of your foot too much, but I still prefer those kind of sawtooth laces that come with some race shoes. But you can't have absolutely everything, especially this being more of a performance training kind of shoe. But that's not to say you couldn't do a race in this. I think it'd be ideal for a sort of faster park run as well, because you can pick up the speed in it. The only thing I would say is I wouldn't use it for an all-out race because you are sacrificing something by having a plastic plate as opposed to a carbon plate, and of course as well the extra weight you're carrying there, which won't necessarily help. But for a park run you want to give a bit of an effort to. This will pick up the pace. Again, with a Speed Vault plastic plate in it, with that PEBA foam, this DNA gold foam as they call it, Brooks really does give you a bit of bounce back. And as well, the rocker at the front, I'm not sure what Brooks calls their technology. You know, I Saucony call it Speed Roll. I think Brooks do have a name. It's probably something like Speed Vault, or I'll put it up here. I have no idea off the top of my head. And again, to help hold your heel in, the heel piece here doesn't bend forward, it bends at the top of the Achilles. Down here it's solid, so it's really going to hold your foot in. And again, I ran 8 miles this morning just around Faro, just run on road. You just roll through. That's probably the biggest thing. There's a bit of bounce again, the PEBA foam, you just roll through in this shoe. And I came to this when I talked about the Speed 5s. The retail price I think was £170, and I said not worth it at that price, but when they got reduced. And I kind of feel much the same with these, with such stiff competition from ASICS, with the Superblast, albeit priced higher, and other brands coming out at the moment. The Nike Zoom Flies, for example, Zoom Fly 6, I sort of think these came out, I think, around £170 as well. They're a tough sell at that price because there's so many competitors. I got this just under £100. I think at this stage you can find them around £100, £110, and then with discount on top of that, you can take it just below. And again, I think even above the Speed 5s, controversial statement because people love the Speed 5, I would go for this. I think if you can get this anywhere near £100, this would be a training shoe that you can use for your long runs, tempo runs, speed sessions potentially, and even maybe daily runs. Again, I ran sort of daily with it today. Well, it was supposed to be a daily run and I got lost and it ended up being 8 miles. But again, I came here just for a couple of days and I thought I have to take one shoe with me to do whatever I plan to do, be it a bit of tempo, longer, daily, and I picked this shoe up above any other, which is the biggest compliment I can give it. The only other shoe I kind of debated for this was the Adidas Evo SL, and you're sick to death, I'm sure, of hearing me talk about that shoe and everyone else. It's an amazing shoe. Picture a graph where, you know, you have your sort of daily slow runs to your faster runs. The Evo SL for me would trend that sort of tempo and up. Tempo to race day. This shoe has some overlap and you can do tempo pace, maybe a bit of speed pace. Probably not a flat out race though, but you can go long in this. It'll be a bit more stable for a long run. With the Evo SL, without the plate and with the softer foam throughout, without this firmer kind of layer at the bottom, it's not really suitable, not for me anyway, for the kind of longer or just slower daily runs where you're kind of more on your sort of midfoot to heel. This shoe is so well built up. Again, the majority of this PEBA foam, as you can see, it's sloping down here, is in the sort of mid to forefoot, and if that's where you're landing, you're getting the full bounce off that. If you're landing more your heel, you're getting more of this firmer foam to stabilize you so you're not rolling around, which is clearly a very good design choice by Brooks, at least for me. So yeah, I just wanted to keep it kind of brief, talk about this shoe. This is still, anyway, when I'm recording this, the current model, although I know the 4's due out in summer. But for me, this is definitely worth picking up as a shoe. I'll continue to run my long runs throughout the entirety of this year, I think, and mix it in maybe with some daily runs, although I use the Ghost for that mainly. But as a long run shoe that, you know, I think I ran a half marathon on Sunday, woke up Monday and my legs felt like they hadn't run at all. And I haven't had that in some time, so there's clearly some real protection being offered by this shoe. The only other reason I wouldn't use it every day is, although it's a plastic plate, it's still a stiff, I'm trying to bend it, stiff enough shoe with the amount of foam, and again, it's a fairly rigid plastic plate. So it's probably not great to train in such stiff, kind of unconforming shoes every day, but I think certainly for the long run, you want to protect your legs, pick up the pace a bit, but still have that comfort. At around £100, I don't think you can really beat this shoe. But guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to go before the tide comes in because it was definitely getting closer last I looked, and the sun's going as well, and I'm kind of hungry. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.